Otherwise, to me, it just becomes an issue. How do I brand myself and keep that brand alive?
How are you able to, as a storyteller, have a consistent tone?
What are the stories? What are the characters? What are the human actions that you're interested in? That's where you just have to be endlessly curious. Engage in a process of discovery. And it's actually improved. People would work 18-hour days. You have to train for this work like an athlete. Starting artist is a control mechanism. It's to devalue you. Art is a challenge to power.
Today we're at UCLA, one of the best film schools in the world, talking with someone who has helped shape a lot of the filmmakers coming up behind the camera. Bill McDonald is a cinematographer and professor at UCLA's film school, where he spent years mentoring students as they find their creative voice and learn the craft of visual storytelling. In this conversation, we talk about a whole lot of things, but more specifically, we dive into creativity, trusting your instincts, and what it actually means to grow as a storyteller. Today we're on Soundstage 3 with Bill McDonald. Finding your creative voice can sometimes feel intimidating. So today we are at UCLA on Soundstage 3 with cinematographer and professor Bill McDonald to talk about creativity, storytelling, and learning how to trust your own eye. Bill, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, my pleasure, and it's an honor to be with you.
I was doing some research and I was just curious about the film school here and the great students and people that have passed through here. I saw one of my personal favorites, Francis Ford Coppola, studied at UCLA in the early 1960s. I find that so fascinating and cool how some of the greatest directors and people in film and in the entertainment industry have passed through here and have collected wisdom. So I wanted to ask you, how do you build your own creative tone as a storyteller? And also, how do you maintain a cohesive style when you're still trying to experiment and not lock yourself down on something?
In our youth, we often think that the goal is to get somewhere as fast as you can, when in fact the goal is to expose yourself to as much of life, the world, creativity, whatever, as possible, and see what emerges. Again, we come back to the idea of patience. It's hard.
Yeah.
I wasn't patient in my youth.
Really?
Yeah. Well, who is?
Well,
who's patient in living your life?
No, yeah,
right?
You seem so patient, and you saying that.
Well, I take your ages and multiply by 3.5, and you hit me.
Okay, so you grow it.
You do, but it's a great and really valid question, because we are anxious to do that. So what I just like to suggest, don't tell people how to live lives, that's for sure. Everybody has to live the life they're going to live. But I think a wonderful way to find all of that is, you need to create. Whatever, defined as a creative, whatever it is that you're creating, that's wonderful. What is the source of that creation? How does it evolve? You as a creator, you've got a certain DNA in you, something that you have affinities at, talents at. Without it being nurtured, it'll probably plateau relatively quickly. So how do you keep feeding that? How do you keep exploring? How do you keep pulling in experience, knowledge, art, history, politics, science? How can you be endlessly curious? Because you're a filter. Some is going to stick, some is going to fall away. But what makes you a unique creative is how you process the same stimuli that exist throughout the world. How do you process it? How do you think about it? How do you reemerge it in some other way that only you and you can do? And only you can do that is because you've processed it, had certain input in a certain way. By doing that, you start to find then your DNA, those affinities you have, those inherent talents you have, begin to evolve and mature.
Wow.
To not be a flash in the pan, a one-hit wonder. If you want to sustain this as a practice for your life, then it must be nurtured, as any good living thing must be nurtured. And to me, that's just endless curiosity. Because everything, and particularly in the world of creatives now, influencers have figured out, I found my niche. I'm going to ride this as long as I can. What's the longest influencer career that we've seen so far? Right? They don't last long.
Well, the ones that we've seen are the ones that evolve.
Right.
The ones that
The
last.
ones that last. Because influencers think what you're supposed to do is find that niche and hang on to that. It's like, okay, but you're running towards a brick wall very quickly. Because there's so many people out there doing that. And your audience is going to go, yep, been there, done that, seen that, moving on. As opposed to, oh, I love the way that Justice ended up, started here and then went there and took this there. I love going on that journey with her as an influencer. Right.
Some of my favorite creators started as something else and then were like, actually, I'm a creative person and like this is evolving, so I'm going to evolve as well. And it's cool to see their trajectory and how they change.
We all love stories. We love seeing a story. If that's somebody's personal story, it's like food in a way. If you love some dish or something, you just love it, and that's what you eat, it becomes really boring pretty fast.
Right.
It's from Chronicles of Narnia. Turkish Delight, one of the I don't remember the character name, but loves Turkish Delight and is willing to sell out his siblings, to the Ice Queen or whatever her name is in the story. I haven't read it for a long time because she gives him Turkish Delight, and then realizing that's all it is, Turkish Delight, and it's not interesting to you, and if it's not interesting to you, it's certainly not going to be interesting to people who are following you.
Yeah.
So the idea of we love story. We love to see we love to see arcs of our characters or our friends or people we follow. We want to see their journey. That's the joy.
We were walking in this morning and we were just talking about our outfits, and I swear this is related, but Justice was like, I was like thinking about what I want to wear, and I was like, what does my character want to wear today? And I was like, I love that you're saying that, because it is like our lives are like, we are like characters, and like our lives are these stories. And I really love what you said about your experience as a human. You're almost like this filter for like all of this creativity and imagination, and your perspective is so unique and unlike anyone else's, even if you have the same experiences or similar experiences. Appreciating that individuality and that uniqueness is what has made the greatest artists, greatest people who have made an impact. One of my questions I wanted to ask you was, there's certain directors that I really love and admire, and they have such a specific tone. I feel like on a personal level, selfishly, I'm asking this for myself.
You get to do that.
I feel like I have a hard time being like, this is my format and it's gonna stay this way, and following that. How are you able to, as a storyteller, have a consistent tone when you still want to explore other things and not be married to one thing? Do you think that that tone just naturally develops as you're experimenting, and then you find like that one through line that kind of
I guess it really just depends, like, what's the through line you're looking for. I think ultimately what it is what are the stories, what are the characters, what are the human actions that you're interested in? Like, you can't just endlessly explore, I'm going to make it up. Family dynamics, I just fascinated. Again, I'm making it up, or I'm riffing, but the idea. So I came from a big Irish Catholic family. I got aunts and uncles and cousins and you name it all over the place. And the drama within that world. And maybe that's the world that I live in, the stories that I want to explore. How I explore that, in what format, in what tone, in what style, the story I'm going to tell, I think, is going to influence that. But thematically, those interests, I think, can be consistent over. You can take many a filmmaker and say, what are the themes that they really explore? And then you discover, oh yeah, you can actually break that director down into, they really explore these 2 or 3 themes, but they do it endlessly in different ways and different stories. But thematically, that's where they're consistent. For me, it's more for that. What is it that interests you that you want to endlessly explore? And then the format in which you do that can change. Why not? Because that, again, it comes back to that. That's what is uniquely you. Because otherwise to me, it just becomes an issue. How do I brand myself and keep that brand alive?
Yes.
But that's just
true.
Like, so can we brand past the optics? Can we brand past just the labeling and brand what makes you so interesting and curious? Because if I'm somebody, I love the stories of like complex families, then I'm going to be drawn to the work, whatever form it is. I'm going to be drawn to your work because that's what you explore. But she's done science fiction. Yes, but it was an alien planet with alien families, and that shit was still there going on with the Martians because that's what you explore in whatever format, story construct, whatever it is. That's what engages you. That's what's interesting. So when I think of you, when I think of you, when I think of you, I'm thinking of that's what's drawing to you. And what's even more interesting to me, it's not the same brand, it's not the same package. What it is the same ideas and themes that you explore in so many different ways because that's what's interesting about you.
It's not so much about the aesthetic. It's like, what is your drive? What's your question that you're asking?
Yeah, absolutely right. We all have a question or questions, and fundamentally, it's not that many, maybe one or two, that plagues us. Plagues us. Always nibbling at us, always at our toes, always plagues us. And if we can identify that, sometimes that takes work. It's there, but you got to uncover it. Once you find that, those essential questions for you that you just, I cannot read enough about this. I cannot listen enough about this. There's music that is about this. There is so much that's about this particular question. And I'm trying to find an answer. Great, you're never going to, but that's the whole point of the journey. Is I'm going to endlessly explore this. If you figure that out, then now you know I'm going to find the best package, the best bottle, the best film, the best whatever, the best podcast, then I'm going to explore that. That to me is sustainable. That ultimately becomes interesting because an aesthetic, again, for aesthetic, that feels just like it's living on a surface for me.
Right.
Because the aesthetic may need to change depending on the story. If I'm trying to apply the same aesthetic to the same story, that's going to become boring. If I apply the same aesthetic, that's not the appropriate aesthetic for this other thing I want to explore, then I'm going to get a mismatch. But if I'm really just trying to come at that essential question and keep digging at that, and I think this container now, it's going to be a documentary. It's going to be a short film over here. It's going to be a podcast over there. It's going to be a painting over there. It's going to be a piece of music over there. That to me then becomes an interesting career to follow because I just love the way that she, he, they look at this particular question and just keep coming back to it. I challenge the audience. Think of some artist who you love. Let's make it a filmmaker for right now. And let's say they've made 10 plus movies. Take the theme of those movies apart and you will find there's a common theme in there.
I feel like I'm understanding more because even in asking you this question, like the person that came to mind was like Wes Anderson.
Great example.
And I love how like his stories always feel so animated and he has a specific way of telling them. So I was almost curious, like to maintain that aesthetic and that vision, is he super precise about like, oh, this needs to be here, this needs to be here. But now I'm understanding it's not that. It's like he's exploring something else and his filter is what naturally.
So if we take it at that level, he tells stories visually in a very specific way. I find sometimes it's brilliant and it works. Sometimes it feels slightly forced, perhaps. That's a personal opinion. Don't send me hate mail. No. I love Wes Anderson's work. And Wes, if you're listening, I'm not critiquing your work. The point being is that he has a way that he's decided he wants to tell the stories. And again, if you look at you'll be able to find common themes in every story he's told. And he in his view, that's how he can't change how he sees the world. That's as essential to him. And that's going to be wonderful and a curse all at the same time. The issue that you can run into is viewers can look at that and go, oh, I love that Wes Anderson aesthetic. And others are going to go, yeah, I kind of got bored with it. You know? All right. Again, you can't judge that. But again, for Wes Anderson, that's how he literally sees the world. So it's got to be in that way. But it's not just I'm just putting this layer on top of it. It's like that organically grew out of how he sees the world. Now he wants to tackle the stories and issues and characters that he's telling. And that's the way it forms. Yeah. So it's not imposing a look on it. It's that whatever story he's telling, because that's how he sees the world, that look emerges from the story he's telling. And that's the direction you're wanting to come from. Otherwise, it's just taking whipped cream and just...
No, that's so true. Because I think like you said, aesthetics on their own is kind of lacking the depth. When you have like that question fueling it, that could be the cherry on top.
Visceral experiences are wonderful. But at some point, visceral experiences, it's like if you watch back-to-back horror movies, after a while you're going, oh, the first one, you're screaming. By the end, you're just going, oh. If you can keep digging deeper into something, then there's something there. If at that first visceral response is just like there and then that's going to wear off. That's why certain styles of whether filmmaking or fashion or whatever, they die out because it's all about visceral. It's all about just the immediate reaction. We get numb to that very quickly. But if it digs a little bit deeper, it affects you emotionally because that's this next level. That's something. But it's still affecting you. Why? I've reacted to it emotionally. I can only laugh and cry so many times, but it still gets me. Oh, it's deeper. There's something deeper going on intellectually that I have to figure out. If you're working at those layers, that's the art. Those are the stories. Those are the ones that last.
Going back to like the way that we phrased it was like, if it's a question, how can you figure out what your question is? Like, how do the best directors figure out what it is?
You're looking. You're looking. And you do that. That's where you just have to be endlessly curious. Engage in a process of discovery. So there's something in your life that's probably in there, but you dig for it. But you may not find it in any kind of direct exploration. You read endlessly. You view endlessly. You listen to music. You just explore. It's really a discovery. And so somewhere along the way, you're going to have that moment. And it may be a funny moment. You're going to realize, oh my God. So somebody's reading Shakespeare. Somebody's reading the back of a soda can, and so it's something along the way. There's going to be a moment of, oh, somebody articulated what I've been struggling with in a way I haven't articulated before. Now suddenly the question starts. It's a question, right? It's an unanswerable question, but you keep asking that question. I do an exercise with my MFA cinematography students. They have to do a research project to get their degree. They shoot films, but they have to actually do original research on a project. Well, how do I choose something? I said, well, you probably have an idea. Yeah, I have an idea. It's kind of about focal length and space. And I said, that's great. Find a comfortable place. Grab your computer, although I think pencil or pen and paper is a better way to go. It's a visceral, sensorial thing. And start asking questions about it. Just questions. Is this interesting? What if I do this? Don't answer them, just questions. If you ran out of questions at 10, 15, 20, whatever it is you're exploring is a dead end. If you get to 40, 50, 60 questions and there's still questions to go. Now the questions may drift. As you start to ask questions, you realize I was going for this way, but I ended up over here. That's, as a research project, that's got potential because all it does is yield more and more questions. We're on a journey. I don't have a religious background that I follow. I'm a spiritual person. Pamela's a spiritual person. Whatever our belief system is or isn't, as far as we know, we only have one life. There may be other planes of existence that we're unaware of. We just don't know that. What we do know right now is we have one life. So that means it's the journey. Most people, I would argue, I've struggled with this myself, to remain present on the journey. It's actually the journey. There's literally no arrival point. People think in the filmmaking world, oh, if I direct my first feature, and it's like, yeah, then they're going to ask you have you directed a second feature? Then when you do a second feature, they'll say, have you done a third feature? So the end point never comes. I mean, if it does as a creative person, you might as well retire because if you go, that's it, I'm done, I don't have anything more to say. It's like, well, then you're no longer exploring. No cinematographer I know of has ever said, professional cinematographer, like Hollywood cinematographer, has ever said they retire. Where it ends is where it all ends for all of us, right? It's like when we're done.
That is true. Also being open to opportunity, like not closing yourself
Absolutely
off.
off. Absolutely.
Something that I think is like lingering with me that I'm like curious in like the arts, how do you handle wanting to trust your gut, but someone telling you something else?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and it's an eternal struggle because it happens at different times. So I'm on set, I'm shooting a movie, I'm working with the director. The director's in charge. There's no doubt about that. My role is to collaborate with the director and to provide my skill and my talents, my artistic sense to help them tell the story. They can choose to collaborate with me. They can choose to listen to me. They can choose to ignore it and tell me just do it their way. That's it. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Right? So if I disagree with the director, I have to say, I'm offering you this other option, but I hear what you want, so I'll give you what you want. Yeah. I do want it noted that I offered something else. Nothing more for it, just that I think that's my job, is to offer options. If we're collaborating, so like it's a good collaboration, then I am absolutely going to offer a suggestion because where it's going to come from is how I'm interpreting this moment in the story, this character arc, something that I think this is going to be better. I worked with some directors. I say, they say, Bill, if you think the camera should go there, put the camera there.
Yeah.
I completely trust it. I trust what you want to do. How wonderful is that? So it's every shade in between all those points, those 3 particular points that we work in. The trusted voice, somebody who's going to give you unvarnished reaction to your work. You need people like that in your life. And you can't give that power to everybody, because not everybody deserves to be given that power. It's somebody who they're telling you because they have your interests, your growth, your evolution at the center of what they're talking about. Some people just want to do that and just knock you down just because they're jerks. So you don't want to invite those people to do that. But it's hard to find those voices.
Is that why like a lot of directors have like their crew? Like these are the people that I like to work with, because it's like they have that like relationship as collaborators.
Absolutely. In my world, I want to make sure if I'm the director of photography, I want to bring in my camera operator. I want to bring in my first assistant camera. I want to bring in my dolly grip. I want to bring in my gaffer. I want to bring in my key grip. The other people can fill in, but I want those department heads to be because they're my team. They're the ones who are executing my ideas.
I was speaking to Elise. She was in your class.
Yes.
Yesterday, and she's in animation at Warner Brothers now. And she was telling me even to hire people, like they typically just hire people that have been in animation for years, because to take a chance on someone who's new but has the passion for it is risky.
It is.
And it's sad because those are the people who are more motivated, are willing to push forward and willing to just do whatever it takes. For those who are still trying to get their foot in the door and still trying to push, what advice would you kind of give?
So there are 2 qualities to people who have achieved what they strive for and what they define as success, because success is different for different people, right?
Yeah.
Somebody who studies an animator and does animation for Hallmark cards, for their website, for their career, and they love it. That's success, right? That's success. You're doing your art. Somebody who wants to be an animator for Disney. What are 2 qualities that you have to have? You have to have outstanding people skills. How do you work together with people? Everything is a team. Everything is a team. Unless you live on a mountaintop and take care of yourself, everything is a team. So your people skills must be outstanding, which means, and those are, you can practice those. Right? The second is never give up.
Period. Never give up. Never give up. You hear that?
You kill me.
Some of the obstacles that are coming at you, and you're just going to go, you're on the verge. Never give up. You may be off on the side doing something. Life has intervened. A parent has a health issue, and you've got to step away as an example. And those are the people that achieve whatever they define as their goal, whatever they define as their success. And they will tell you the stories. You go, you what? You went through what? How long did it take? Again, the time factor is artificial. The idea, I have to be a success when I'm 30. The world's tough enough. Why put a ticking clock on it? Just keep working at it, because, referring back, it's all a part of the journey that's going to make you the person that you will become and you're striving to become. Never give up.
So this is something that I'm curious about, that I'd love your perspective on, and something that I feel like everyone has experienced being on set. Obviously, film sets are known for having really long days and sometimes like 12+ hour shooting days. How do you stay creatively present on a long set day?
This is a very good question, quite a good question. Again, engaging in any kind of industrial, commercial filmmaking, the system, for all sorts of false reasons, has created this structure that is inhumane. How does one lead a creative life in that system where, and it's actually improved that it is 12 hours. There was no cap to it. People would work 18-hour days. First and most important is your physical health. You have to train for this work like an athlete. So your diet has to be good. Your stamina has to be good. You have to be very smart about the shoes that you wear. I can literally be on my feet for 14 hours and not sit down once. That's after years of training. I'm an athlete in that sense. I've trained myself to work in a physical environment where I do not need to sit down. I don't even give it a second thought. So when I have the students standing up and after 30 minutes, I'll say, okay, I'll let you sit down. They go, oh, collapse. I haven't sat, they didn't see me sit down the day before in lecture. They didn't see me sit down during lab. So then people will ask, well, why the shoe thing? I said, all right, so UCLA, John Wooden, very famous basketball coach, right? He led the UCLA Bruin men's basketball team to 10 consecutive national championships. That will never happen again with college sports the way it is now. That will never occur again. It's lunacy to even suggest that. Wooden taught his players, his students, student athletes, because they were student athletes, how to put on shoes and socks. People ridiculed him. He said, well, look, I'm teaching them how to put shoes and socks on properly, because if they get a blister because they have put them on incorrectly, they can't play at their peak performance as an athlete. So it's a simple fundamental. So for living in an environment where you could be working 12 plus hours, you have to eat well, you have to improve your stamina. So we talked about the physicality, we have to talk about the human. So let's talk about the creative part, the spirit part of it. That's hard.
And it continues to be something that's like, okay, you have
It's
to train
something
yourself.
back to the presence. You have to stay present and really be aware of it. And you have to recognize that some days you just have to make sure you do a professional job.
Yeah.
You just have to do a job. You have to show up and do the job. Other days you get that inspiration. You can take it to another level. Some days you just got to rely on your professionalism, be there and do. I'm not going to say the minimum. That's not the right way to put it. You just have to do what is expected of you as a professional, as a cinematographer, AD, whatever, electrician, grip, whatever it is. I tell everybody, all right, we're going to practice the professional skill of excessive politeness.
Really?
Absolutely.
Whoa.
Because if you get in the habit of excessive politeness, it seems funny in a 3-hour class, shoot in a class time in a lab. But when you've worked with the same people and you're 4 months into a project, you want to kill everybody. You are just so sick and tired of everybody's shit, whatever it is. There can be the sweetest person on planet Earth. You're just sick and tired of that sweet shit.
Yeah, even like with the schedules that you have to follow.
Absolutely. So rather than have the place descend into chaos, everybody just practice. So I hate you. I want to kill you. But you say please and thank you. I want to wipe that smile off your face. But you say please and thank you, and you treat everybody just with extreme, excessive courtesy and politeness, because you rely on that to make it through the long days, long hours. So even if it's a short shoot, but if you've had 4 14-hour days in a row, you are not happy about anything. And it's very easy to get grumpy, and you get grumpy, and then you snap at each other, and then one snap and the place falls apart. That's not professional. So we have to understand and rely on that professionalism, so that whatever the circumstances are, you rely on that to get through the tough days.
What you were also saying about just being content with your ambitions and like what you want to strive for. There's no real idea of success. There's a myth within the idea of the starving artist. It kind of stops us to reaching what we really want to strive for. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on if you think the starving artist is real.
The starving artist is a load of crap. Starving artist is a control mechanism. It's to devalue you. What are the first thing fascists do? Get rid of the artists. Why? Because artists teach you and have you think about something beyond what the people in power want you to think about. Yeah. Art is a challenge to power. So the myth of the starving art, does that mean that artists can have difficult times? Of course. But I really fight the concept of the starving artist, because it's a definition that suddenly becomes, it's used so often it becomes, that's what it should be. Art and your performance as an artist has value. Oh, you're an artist. You're not going to get paid as much. Why not? Right. Try and exist without art. So do we have to suffer for art? No. Have we suffered for art? Sure. But that's back to the idea of how we're going to live our life. Do I need to take a job? Do I need to take two jobs because I want to practice my art? Okay. But that's what you are deciding you need to do. But we don't need to have others define us for the life that we should be leading. You get to define that. Art scares the crap out of people.
But I think it's like what you just said. It's the ideas that we've been told.
We have.
When you're little, you have like a childlike curiosity and imagination and like you're drawn to things, and then it's an older sibling or like a parent telling you like you can't do that.
Think about the children who you know. What do they engage in naturally most of the time? Art.
That's
Play
true.
and art and doing things. Yes, of course, there are kids who are great with math and they play with numbers immediately and all that kind. Absolutely. What do we teach children? What do we do first thing with them when they end up in school, in pre-K? Art. And then what do we do? So we spend all this time building a foundation in your early life about art, but don't do that as you grow older. There's no value in that. You can't make a living. Then what? No wonder we're confused. So it's just a way of just rebeating that poor dead horse, which is just don't let people define you. Everybody who comes into my classroom, if you choose to live this life, the life of an artist, you are choosing to live a life. You are not, it's not a career, it's not a job. You are choosing a way to live a life as an artist. And that's very different. And most people do not choose that. Most people choose to find security and live within that security. Bless them, that's not a problem. It's their life to live. But if you want something different, it comes with a set of decisions you're going to make, and those will be challenging decisions to make.
We're getting into our next segment. We have some questions from some of your students that we want to play.
Hi, Bill. This is Emilio. I hope you're having a great day. My question for you is, how do I stay true to myself in a business/industry that is so hyper commercialized and prioritizes sort of following a status quo to get money when the greatest artists defied that?
Thank you, Emilio.
Thank you, Amelia. Emilio, it's a great question. You answer your own question, actually. If you want to engage in industrial commercial art, that is a choice. That's a battlefield that you've chosen to engage in. It will be challenging to fight that and have your voice emerge. So doesn't mean you don't try, but what I think a lot of people figure out is that there is your commercial, industrial filmmaker self, and then there's your own private practice, art practice, which may also be making movies. You have to find what that balance is. I mean, you understanding that if you're going to engage in a system that we know pushes in these directions, I mean, you can fight it, but also recognize that the system then may not want to accept you in that fight. Doesn't mean stop fighting, but it doesn't also mean that you don't have to have another practice that is your own private art practice that you find satisfaction in. In fact, I highly encourage that. So if that means that you're making different types of movies, shorter form on your own, do it. If you're looking for satisfaction in any industrial, like personal gratification, satisfaction in the creation of art, in something that is a capitalist, commercial, industrial platform, that's hard to find that satisfaction because the system is pushing for something else, which, Emilio, you identified. So yeah, what you're addressing is absolutely true. Just recognizing the battleground you wish to engage in, and it's a battle, and don't stop fighting for it, but you have to feed the human artist in you, and that's making sure that you are finding a mechanism by which your art still has a place in your life and moves you forward. Keep the fight, but you also have to nurture your soul.
I love that.
Hi, Bill. Cinematography is still largely male-dominated, and as a woman trying to pursue it, I sometimes wonder how to navigate that dynamic. What advice would you give about establishing creative authority while still fostering collaboration on set?
Wonderful question, anonymous person. I am happy to say that the dynamic in terms of the male domination is shifting quite significantly. When I started this program, I was hired to create an MFA program in cinematography in 1998. At that time, my daughter was just born, less than a year old. And I asked myself, what if Natalie wants to become a cinematographer? And I looked around and said, that's going to be really hard because you could name 2 or 3 in the United States, the Hollywood system, 2, maybe 3 women identified cinematographers. Right now, that number is still not what it should be, but we're in the hundreds of people who practice the art and craft in commercial industrialized filmmaking who are female identified. Part of that is people like me in positions that we have committed to making sure that talented young women who wanted to study cinematography were given the opportunity to do so. Because to change the system, you must generationally flood that market with others. And if you do that over a generation, then some number of those people in that generation become leaders. And those leaders make sure that that flood continues. We're not there yet. We have a ways to go, but we are on the path. But it has taken very specific efforts to make sure that happens.
My name is Tomas Carrasco.
Hey, Tomas.
I'm a third-year transfer student at the UCLA TFT school. I would just say, I guess my biggest fear is a career in the arts is very demanding, and it's kind of all-consuming. And so I'm just wondering how the balancing works in terms of keeping interpersonal relationships, keeping bonds with family, doing things that are pretty much outside of sort of the framework of maintaining a job in a competitive industry while also being able to thrive in that same industry. And I guess I just want to be a full-time artist, but that takes not only dedication, but sacrifice. And I guess I'm just not sure where exactly those sacrifices are going to come in.
Thank you for that question, Tomas. We've touched on a little bit of this in our session, but just as Tomas did and we all do, we can say, I want the arts, how do I balance a life? Talk to any doctor, talk to any lawyer, talk to any professional, any profession. And those are issues. I know many doctors, and they'll tell you life depends on the kind of medicine you're practicing, but it's also true, same kind of art you're practicing. So look, ultimately in the end, in whatever you're engaged in, whether it's art or whatever other kind of profession, if you want to lead some part of that life, taking care of yourself beyond that professional work, you simply have to commit to that. You will have to fight the forces that will want you to, no, we're working this weekend, okay? What are the sacrifices? You might need to do some trade-off. If you're protecting yourself and your family, your relationships, your personal health, then you might have to say, no, I got to say no to that job, or I got to say no to those extra hours, or whatever it is. Those are the sacrifices to keep the balance. Balance is about, if I want to keep this in balance and weight is added here, then I have to remove something from here, right? We have to keep this. If balance is important, it's not for a lot of people. They're very happy to commit to themselves for whatever amount of time. I always say, okay, well, take a look at their personal life, take a look at their health, and take a look at how long they're able to do that. Now, the trade-off is, oh, this person has had a wonderful professional life. Yes, because their professional life may have given them financial rewards that allow them to have some more control over their life. Bless everybody or anybody who's able to produce that, right? But the rest of us human beings who just have to work for a living, it is a challenge, but it comes back to some other answers of mine, which is if you are engaging in a system of commercialized industrial art, there's a mechanism by which it's run. Again, we want to fight to change it. But the challenges are, how do you figure out in your responsibilities, the life you want to lead, how you challenge that and how you live within that. You got one shot at this life, so you got to make some choices. And nothing is achieved without letting something go or sacrificing something somewhere else.
That's true. Can we get our last and final question, please?
Hi, Bill. I was wondering, what was the worst time that you've ever had a creative block, and what are the best ways to try to get out of that?
Oh, creative block. To our listening audience, I just made quite a face. Quite a face. That's a hard one. I've heard or read on social media some writers in this instance in particular, about block and say there's no such thing, it's just laziness. There are certainly moments when ideas flow and when they don't. So we can categorize it whatever you want. Again, I tend to avoid labels that other people create. Generally, I think the way the brain works best is when we try and derail it, because our brain likes to lock in. So if we're trying to solve a problem and we're not solving it, the more we try and solve it, the bigger the obstacles become. So my strategy has tended to be to drift away from what I'm trying to solve in whatever. It doesn't have to be creative. Sometimes it's something else. Maybe it's just hard work. I'll go out and, you know what I'll try and do? I'll try and do something that I have a tangible result. I love gardening, and my favorite thing is to run across in my garden a big patch of weeds. Why? Because I can pick those weeds, and I get to the end of it, and I've accomplished it, and the weeds are gone. Harder with our art sometimes. We don't have such a tangible. We're trying to work through something. Working through something is hard. So if we can't find the solution, at least for me, not for everybody, I just try and derail my process such that I'm not thinking about it, letting my inner mind, my unconscious mind wrestle with it, not my conscious mind. So I'm going to try and do something that's engaging, but engaging in a way that I get a tangible result. Just don't do something else that's like, this has no conclusion. I could keep writing this up. Do something that gets, paint that wall. That's where the joke about cleaning the apartment. There's a reason writers have the idea they have the cleanest apartments or houses around, because that's a tangible result. You're trying to figure out that scene and it's killing you. But I'm going to do the dishes. The dishes are clean. So you actually have a sense of accomplishment. If your brain senses that somewhere in the background, maybe it's going to figure out this problem. It typically comes when you have a block. It's not when because I've solved the problem. It's like, oh, that's what it was. Music is a great therapy for me. What I'm trying to do is just break up the conscious part of it and not try and solve the problem. Block is real to me.
Yeah.
And then that's the last time I'll use that word.
The need to solve the problem is maybe what keeps you in the problem?
It can. Now, sometimes you actually do not have the luxury of a block. You have a deadline, it's due. Then just do it. Just do it. This is where perfectionism is connected to procrastination, because we want to make it perfect. You can't have it be perfect. It's not possible. So it's got to be a scene. Okay, I don't care. I got to hand it in. I got a deadline. Just write the scene.
Like you said earlier, it's like almost like switching into the professionalism, like what's expected of me.
Exactly. I've got a deadline. They expect 3 pages from me. They're the 3 pages. Who knows? They're going to go, I love these pages. You're going, really? I think they're shit. But okay, that's great. I'm so happy.
But that's also
wonderful.
so funny, because it's like even when you think something is terrible, sometimes people end up receiving it super well.
Absolutely.
To kind of tie our episode together in a bow, how can intentional storytelling bring people ease?
If the idea is fulfillment, contentment, really a fundamental force of life, the idea of living a life alone with others, whatever it is, but living a life where ultimately at the end of the day, whatever that day is, you think, this is good. It's been good for me. It's been good for others. I've left this little patch of earth better than I found it. If that's my goal, then the idea of intention, who you are, and we're all a unique construct. Each person is fundamentally different. And if we find our way to that uniqueness, and we can share that uniqueness with others by the stories we tell, the stories we live, then I think we're working towards a life that we can define as having a sense of ease.
That was beautiful.
That was beautiful.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
My absolute joy and pleasure.
And thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, thank you.
My gratitude goes to all of you. You're the ones taking the time out of your day to travel to me to let me talk endlessly.
It was an honor.
And truly, I've been very happy to be here with you all, and very happy to know you all and to spend time with you.
Thank you.
The pleasure's ours.
Yeah, the pleasure's ours. Truly.